Listen, stop belittling your business. It is not a hobby. And as long as you think of it as a hobby, it's going to remain a hobby to not only you, but everybody around you. Let's get into today's video. I'm going to talk to you about exactly what I did to change my thinking, to change my movements, and to change my actions. I know what I'm talking about. Years ago, I started a business. At the time, it was just something to do. When my husband got home from work, I was a stay-at-home mom. It was an outlet. It was a way that I could get out and hang out with other adults. It was a Premier Designs jewelry business. If you're not familiar with Premier Designs, it was a multi-level marketing business that sold jewelry, and we did home shows and taught people how to use that jewelry to accentuate their wardrobe. I loved it. I've always loved fashion. I've always loved style. So to me, it was just something fun to do until I started seeing my upline paying for houses, paying for cars, putting kids through college. That was when I realized that this could be a true business. So I had to start treating it as such. The only problem was I didn't know how. What I did was I learned from those individuals who were making it a business, who were paying bills, who were putting kids through college, who were buying homes. I started listening to them and I started following their lead. And I know that you can do the same and take your business from hobby to a high performing business. All right, let's get into today's video. I'm going to talk to you about exactly what I did to change my thinking, to change my movements, and to change my actions. If you want your hobby to go from just that to a seriously high-performing business, this is the video you need to watch. Let's dive into it. All right, let's talk about thinking differently. Number one, you have got to change your mindset in order to be successful at anything. You've got to think of things in a different way. Instead of talking about giving away your products and services for free, which I know none of us really enjoy doing, but instead of thinking about giving things away for free, create a program that is a beta, where you are testing your information. A lot of times we don't even get started with our programs and services because we're afraid that they're not going to work. We don't want to embarrass ourselves or whatever. So take that off the table by creating a beta test. And this is how you are going to not only gather information, but it's how you are going to make sure that whatever your offering is works before you take it to the public and you start selling it for money. So the first mindset changer I would say is go from giving things away for free to creating an actual strategy where you can beta test your ideas. They're both free, or can be. A beta can be free because you're gathering data, you're getting information, or it can be for such a low cost that the people who are taking advantage of the beta feel like they're getting a really good deal. Either way, stop thinking about giving away your hobby for free and start testing it for information and data. So that's the first thing that I had to kind of get my mind around, changing the way I thought of things. The other thing when it comes to changing your thinking is you are an expert in a particular area. It's something that you've done for a long time. If you've been doing it as a hobby, it's a passion you have. And you've got to take your mind from thinking, oh, well, I mean, obviously it's easy to do because I can do it. It's something that I've been doing for years. I'm not going to charge people for it. To thinking this is something that you are very skilled in and others aren't. And they are in amazement at your ability to do it so well. So you have to go from thinking that you are just someone who's good at something and everybody should do it to seeing yourself as an expert in this area and then offering your service and that expertise to someone who wants to save their time. And so that they don't have to learn this skill since you already know it, they are paying you for your expertise in an area. Obviously, because it's a hobby, right? It's something that you love, you enjoy, you would do it for free. It's a passion you have. I get it. But the thinking needs to be adjusted here because if it's not, people will take advantage of that. So see yourself as an expert. Offer your expert services as a way to help other people save time from having to learn how to do the thing that you know how to do so well and that you've been using as a hobby for all this time. So that's another way that you need to change your thinking. The next mindset shift, the thinking that needs to be adjusted, is that time is money. When you are taking a business, we are taking a hobby to a business. You have to wrap your mind around every minute count. If you are going to be working with someone, you have to document that time because you need to know how much time it takes you to do something so that you'll know whether, especially if you're charging for your time, how much you need to charge per hour. Or also you just need to know that every minute that you are spending with someone doing something for free or doing a favor or whatever, it's costing you money from doing something for someone who wants to pay you. A perfect example of this is, let's say you're in an organization. Let's use a church. I know this might be controversial. My apologies in advance. But let's say you're in a church and you have a specific skill set. You are an amazing photographer and you have been doing that as your profession, and you get paid top dollar to photograph corporations, their headshots. You get tons of money for photographing athletes and teams and sport. And then your church comes in and says they want you to now do the photography for the church. Here's where you have to say to yourself, yes, this is something that you can do to serve your organization, and you have to make the decision. If you're going to do it for free, totally up to you. You have to manage expectations because you also have paid customers. And the time that you are taking to do the free work for your church is time that is being taken away from your ability to make money with a paid client. So you have to start thinking time is money. And when you are giving things away for free or you are doing favors for people, keep in mind the time you spend doing that is taking away from the time you could be making money doing the same thing. So I'm not saying don't do the free things, but I'm saying your thinking has to be adjusted so that you recognize time is money. And then lastly, I want you to change the mindset around mistakes. This is a perfect time to make mistakes when you are transitioning from hobby to a paid business, because it's in this small little section of time where nobody really knows who you are that mistakes are amazing because they help you learn. But even as you grow in your business and you have transformed into a solid business, mistakes are necessary because they are learning experiences and they help you grow. They help you do better and they help you scale. So you have to change the way you think about mistakes and the way you think about failures because they are actually opportunity. Okay, so the next place is you want to move differently. What do I mean by move differently? It's about how you position yourself, how you position your hobby now business, okay? Remember, we're going from hobby to a successful, high-performing business, okay? So you want to establish a work schedule. This is going to be important. When are you most productive? You want to think about this because your movements matter here. If you are most productive first thing in the morning, then you need to adjust your schedule to start working your business in whatever capacity you deem necessary early in the morning. If you are a late person where you think better at night when the house is quiet, then you want to adjust your schedule to start doing the bulk of your work that you can do in the evening. So you have to start moving differently here and put a method to your madness. Next, have a designated workspace. Don't try to work just in your bed or anywhere in the house. Establish a workspace and tell those that are in the home with you that that is now your designated workspace so that you can set boundaries around it and be able to work and be as productive as possible whenever you have scheduled your time to work. You don't want to just set up at the table just because or whatever. Have a designated workspace so that you can get into the mindset of work when you are first establishing your business and going from hobby to a successful business. Also here in the movement, I want you to change your thinking and set SMART goals. We know that SMART goals are specific, measurable, they're attainable, they are relatable to what it is you're trying to sell, and they are timed. So you know that in order to set a SMART goal, those are the criteria you need to meet. But in addition to setting the SMART goal, you need to have a plan of action that you will be taking in your designated workspace, right? In the scheduled time that you've scheduled to be productive, you're going to have a plan of action to attack that goal. Now, your plan also requires action, which is another movement that I want you to think about, and that is creating a workflow. Actions that are going to lead you to achieving or working the plan that you have put in place to achieve the goal. So you want to have, again, a workspace, a scheduled time. You want there to be some SMART goals that you're working towards. You want a plan of action that is going to help you achieve those goals. And you want to create a workflow that will work the plan that ultimately helps you achieve the goals. These are movements that you have to make within this structure if you want to take your hobby to a high-performing business. If you have gotten anything from this so far that you feel is going to be helpful, please give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment down below and tell me about your hobby to high-performing business. I want to hear what you did and what your business is. Leave a link down below so we can all check it out and engage with me, and let's talk about it. If you're struggling to fulfill this and go from hobby to high-performing business, let me know and we will get you all set up. Now that we've talked about thinking differently, we've talked about moving differently, let's talk about acting differently. What does that look like? When it comes to acting differently, here's what I want you to know. In order for all of those things to work that we just talked about, thinking differently and moving differently, you have to set boundaries. You have to manage expectations of not only others, but yourself. You have to teach people how to treat you, and you need to make sure that you are communicating effectively. So when it comes to acting differently, this is going to require a little bit of introspection because you have to know where those boundaries are. You have to understand what expectations need to be managed, not only for yourself, but for others. You need to learn how to communicate effectively and efficiently. You don't have to say something all the time. And when you do say something, you want it to carry some weight. That takes practice. So these actions that you need to be changing, that you need to do differently, it requires a little bit of introspection, and that is why I created Project CEO. Project CEO is my signature program that really and truly walks you through a lot of the things that you need to cipher through in order to know exactly what you need to do and be your best. So if you haven't checked out Project CEO, it is linked down below. Get on the wait list. We've got so many things going on that I'm not quite sure when we're going to be opening up Project CEO, but it is coming, and I want you on the list to get all the goodies that come along with it. So back to how I was able to achieve hobby to high-performing business, and I did. I was able to go from just being someone who did this to get out of the house to the second level of leadership before I got out of Premier Designs Jewelry and became a full-time fashion stylist, where I went from working fashion shows here in the DFW area to actually traveling to New York Fashion Week multiple years, multiple seasons, working with designers and fashion show production companies, designing and styling their shows. So I am telling you what I know. There were some shifts that had to be made, thinking, the movements that I made, and the actions that I took. Now, it's easy to be complacent and start believing your side hustle is just that, a side hustle. But sis, I want you to stop second guessing yourself. You have everything you need to turn your hobby into a high-performing business. Now, in this next video, I am talking to you about some systems that I think are going to help you get all of this worked out, where you understand what needs to change in your thinking, what needs to change in your movements, and what needs to change in your actions to take your hobby to a high-performing business. So take a look at this next video, and I'll see you next week. Bye.